hope you enjoyed the little Tarantino talk. So, cool.
Yeah.
I have hit the publish button.
Oh, ooh, the publish button has been hit. That means you might be watching. I should mute my my computer so that when it does come on, hope you enjoyed the little Tarantino talk. We're not getting that feedback echo.
Cool. Yeah.
So welcome.
Hi.
We appreciate you hanging out with us for the video this week. We're going to be chatting about Once Upon a Time. We're going to be doing the live podcast. So just so you know, if you found this on YouTube, you wanted to see some Once Upon a Time talk, or maybe you're just SiftPop fan, whatever. The way this works is we hop in at the beginning, say hi to you. If anybody's in the chat and wants to give a shout out, this is the moment for us to kind of converse, do those kind of things with the live video. And then basically this is just a live look in on the podcast recording process. Yes, we've produced it up thanks to producer Phil, who does an amazing job. We put stuff on the screen behind us, all that kind of stuff, so it kind of feels more like a video show. But at the end of the day, we're producing a podcast, and we're just glad to let you kind of live look in. So that's kind of how that works. So thanks for hanging out with us. I see there's a few people watching, so thank you for watching, and feel free to pop into the chat. Phil, if you're ready, I'm ready. Got a little bit of a time crunch, but we don't want to rush anything. We want to make sure we have good, full conversation on. You can't rush a Tarantino conversation, so we'll make sure we
Especially
have
a 3-hour Tarantino.
all right, so Phil, let me know when you're ready for me to live it from the bunker it. Live from a bunker in the heart of the Ozarks, a podcast that will never look at a can of dog food the same way again. It's SiftPop.
And away we go.
And away we go! Welcome to SiftPop, streaming live most weekends, or available to download later in your podcast feed. Unless, of course, you're a patron.
Patrons get perks.
Patrons get those perks.
Woo!
I'm your host, Aaron Dicer, and he's my Xenial and Xenodochial co-host, Andrew Ormsby.
Wow, that was a stretch.
Yeah, you really had a thesaurus or a dictionary, didn't you?
No, those are both words that I knew. And each week we'll chat about movies, television, and whatever else from the pop culture universe is on our minds. They kind of mean similar things, but they're a little bit different. Have you heard the word xenophobic?
Yeah.
Okay,
but that starts with an X.
Yes, we're on X.
Oh, I thought we were on Z's.
No.
Oh.
No. There's plenty of better words for Z. X is the tough one.
Really?
X is the tough one, yeah. So,
Wait, so you're saying I'm racist?
No. I didn't say xenophobic.
Oh.
I said xenodochial, which means the opposite of racist. Means you like strangers. You're courteous to strangers. And then...
Oh, that's not true at all.
And then xenial kind of means a very similar thing, except it has more to do with hospitality. It has more to do with, when you have friends over, you're good at taking care of them and that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
so.
I thought you knew me, Aaron. Now I'm learning much.
There were two adjectives that started with X.
Yeah, I get it. Fair enough.
I could have gone with a cheat and done excellent, that kind of thing. But extreme. I'm just not a cheater. I didn't want to cheat, so I went with the full.
I'll give it to
full
you.
X.
Well, thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you for hanging out with us for this episode of SiftPop. We are glad you're here. We're going to have a great time. Want to let you know right off the bat. We're doing something we haven't done in a long time. I'm really proud that we haven't done this in a long time, but every once in a while it does need to happen. We're going to take a week off next week. Now, don't fret. If you want some Hobbs and Shaw talk, we will give you some Hobbs and Shaw talk the week after. But due to circumstances, vacations, different things, we will not be able to record next week in a timely fashion. So we're going to go ahead and take a week off. Now, I will say this. If I find some time to record something with somebody and send it to Phil, maybe we'll do a Swift Sift. We've done that before, where I'll just send something to Phil and he'll post it in the feed, and maybe we'll get that up there. But did want to let you know, it might be a couple weeks before you hear the next episode.
I'm trying to remember if anything comes out the week after Hobbs and Shaw.
Nothing crazy. So if there's something we want to talk about, we can still do a twofer.
Yeah.
But it's not a huge week.
So it might actually just work out that way.
It kind of works out nicely.
Yeah.
In that way. So wanted to give you a heads up on that before we got to the rest of the show today. Like I said, going to be a lot of fun. We'll do all the regular stuff like Buried Treasure. We've got a Sift Quest about the best movies of a decade. Nothing like a nice small topic to really just kind of nibble on a little bit. You don't have to go deep on that or anything. So we're going to talk best movies of the 2010s in the Sift Quest, and then we're going to review Tarantino's latest, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And we like to kick it off with some Do We Care?
Every single week, I scour the internet to find out what is going on in the entertainment world.
You almost sang that one. That was nice.
Did, yeah. Every single week, I scour the internet to find out what is going on in the entertainment world. I pick some topics for us to discuss, and we must decide: do we care or not? Number one, I'm just going to say this up front.
Okay.
All of these are Marvel themed.
Well, I was going to say because all the Marvel announcements happened after we recorded last week, so I figured we'd just do the Marvel Comic-Con stuff this week, and that would be what we did, and that's fine with me.
Yeah. One of them isn't technically Comic-Con related, but it is Marvel stuff.
Okay, fair enough.
I just want to do a quick rundown, Phase 4, for people who don't know what's going on. So, yeah, a plethora
or
of
even
things.
even just to talk about it, like this is our place to talk about this stuff.
I have all the announcements right here. So, is there anything like that just jumped out to you?
Well, I like kind of the broad thoughts on this kind of stuff. My first thing is I think it's really cool and very exciting that they are treating the TV properties as part of Phase 4.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like the idea that they put 5 TV properties out there and 5 movies over the next couple years, so 10 entities of Phase 4, and they included that is really exciting to me. The closest they've ever come to doing that is Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. for the first couple seasons really did tie into the MCU in, a decent way. They've kind of gone away from that in recent seasons, and it sounds like these shows on Disney Plus are going to be that to the nth degree. They're actually going to be continuous MCU programming, and that's cool. And I think one of them, the WandaVision thing, is going into the Doctor Strange movie and apparently carrying over and crossing over, and I think that's really great.
Yeah.
So that's kind of one of my broad things is I'm really glad they're treating the TV as a legitimate part of the MCU Phase 4 and beyond, I'm sure.
Beyond. All the TV shows, was there one that just really struck you as interesting?
100%.
I bet it's the same one as me.
It's What If.
Yeah.
What If is going to blow my mind.
Yeah.
I first of all, I love animation, so it doesn't bother me that it's animated.
Yeah.
I love the fact that all the voices that are coming back are the actual voices from the MCU.
Yeah.
The idea of I was thinking we're going to be talking about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood today. Tarantino has kind of been doing the What If comic series.
Yeah.
With his movies. So it's kind of, that idea of taking a look at the existing understanding of continuity, especially in the MCU, and then going, well, let's take a little turn here is fascinating to me, and I'm super excited about it.
And Jeffrey Wright is one of the Watchers. I mean, the guy just got the most velvety voice. It's so good.
Yeah.
So, I'm super stoked because the whole, like you said, the whole concept of
it's 2 years from now, by the way.
Yeah.
Before it debuts, summer of 2021.
Yeah, it's a shame. But,
it's going to be a while.
Well, sometimes it's crazy with these Marvel properties. You forget that how quickly it all just flies by.
Yeah.
Like, that's really what pushes time forward so quickly. It's the MCU.
Yeah.
Because, you think it's, watching your kids grow up that makes you feel like, no, it's the MCU because you're like, wait, we're on Phase 4 already? Oh, it was just yesterday that Iron Man came out.
The other show I'm really excited about is Locust Gump.
Yes.
Which, will show Loki having a major impact in all of Earth's history.
Odin, why don't you love me, Odin?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that one's going to be a lot of fun. It's funny, no, it's not true. I was going to say I'm kind of more excited about TV shows, but that's not true. I'm so pumped about the Doctor Strange movie as well.
Oh, Multiverse of Madness, which also will have Wanda in it.
And Scott Derrickson is saying is going to be the first scary MCU movie, possibly a horror, quote-unquote, movie, and I'm like, that's cool. I'm not a horror fan, but if you're going to make PG-13 horror that deals with suspense and also the multiverse, I'm interested. And by the way, Doctor Strange is where the multiverse should be introduced, and I hope they handle it with care because you can really undercut some stakes when you start dealing in multiverses and time travel, and we've already talked about that quite a bit, so I hope they take care with whatever the multiverse aspect of that is going to be.
Yep. So. Also, 2 big things of news came from Thor: Love and Thunder, which I love that title so much.
The titles are great.
So metal.
These titles are all great.
Yeah, but particularly Thor: Love and Thunder, because it just has Taika written all over it. You know.
Yeah.
The introduction of Jane Foster as Mighty Thor. Yeah. That's a big news.
That's huge. I mean, to get Natalie Portman back too.
Yeah.
After kind of the rumors were that they didn't split on great terms. She really didn't like the second Thor movie, Dark World.
Nobody liked the second Thor.
Well, I think, and again, that's just rumor. It's just that's what I've picked up from the the pop culture consciousness.
Money, Aaron.
Right?
Yeah.
But she's great. I'm glad. I'm glad they're able to keep that continuity and use her. I think that's going to be really cool.
And then, of course, they close the show with two-time Oscar winner Mahershala Ali being introduced as Blade.
Yeah, that was the biggest what?
I know.
It was like, are you kidding me?
It's so awesome. I'm so
it's
stoked.
great.
Yeah.
Two-time Oscar winner.
Yeah, two-time Oscar winner.
Calls it Marvel, and he's like, I got something for you.
Yeah.
I want to be Blade. And they're like, come, sup with us, Mahershala. Let us eat together and discuss, shall we?
Exactly.
I mean, how powerful is Marvel that, a two-time Oscar winner is like, please put me in your movies?
Well, if you just look at the MCU and this cast that they've assembled, he's not the only Oscar winner. They've had...
Sorry, no pun intended, right?
Yeah. Assembled. Yeah. I mean, he's not the only Oscar winner, but it's still, every single time they get one, you're like, wow. They understand quality actors produce quality content.
Well, they also understand that there's something to be gained from having great new actors in the picture as well. I think
Tom Holland.
I think with Tom Holland's a great example, and with Shang-Chi coming up, the guy that's going to be in Shang-Chi actually petitioned on Twitter like a year ago for the part, and they gave it to him, and he's like not really been in a lot of stuff, and that's mind blowing.
Well, I think he was cast on Wednesday. And then he was in Hall H on Friday.
Yeah.
I think that's what it was.
That's crazy.
He'd known he was Shang-Chi for 2 days, and he was already being presented to 8,000 people in Hall H. Can you imagine?
Talk about your life changing overnight.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah, that's insane.
I don't know that I could have lower expectations for Black Widow. I mean, the only reason I have expectations for it at all is because, one, I like Scarlett Johansson. I think she's a great actress.
Rachel Weisz.
And two, it's Marvel. And they seem to be able to put together a good movie no matter what. But man, there's nothing I know about it, at least, that is attractive to me, that's exciting to me.
David Harbour and Rachel Weisz are like really cool selling points.
Sure, no, I get the cast. But you may also be misunderstanding me.
I think, okay, so what you're saying is it's not instrumental to the MCU's story arc, so...
I'm saying I don't know how it's instrumental to the MCU's story arc. Okay. My guess is that it will be, and this is why what I'm saying is I love this. I love when I have no expectations going into a movie. I love when I don't know how it's going to relate to everything else. This is so up, and eventually trailers are going to come out, and people are going to start to understand what this movie's going to be about. Yeah. But this moment we're in right now where nobody really understands what this movie is what I love. I cherish that right up to release day. I would love to go into Black Widow knowing exactly what I know now. Because to me, that's the opportunity to blow my mind.
Yeah.
So, and I think they could. I think they could take that property, even though it's in the past, and kind of, you think that eliminates some stakes because it's not like she can die or anything. We know how that happens later. So, so I'm excited. I'm excited not to be excited for it.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. Be excited. Be excited.
So did you hit all the ones you wanted to hit?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the other thing I would mention.
Well, they mentioned stuff in Phase 5.
Exactly. That's the other thing I think we need to talk about is the fact that these are the 10 things they mentioned for Phase 4. Doesn't touch on Captain Marvel 2, doesn't touch on Black Panther 2, doesn't touch on Guardians 3.
Or Mutants.
Or Fantastic Four. And they mentioned all of those things as a possible Phase 5.
Possibly Blade will be in Phase 5 too.
You would think so.
Yeah.
You would think so. So it's...
Feige said they have Phase 5 already planned out.
Well, here's the other thing. What if, the Eternals is mind-blowing? They're going to want to get into Eternals 2 in process really quick. It's going to be really interesting to see how they divvy out their hand, because there does come a point where Marvel fatigue will be a real thing. You can't release one every month. I mean, maybe you can. I mean, I'm on board right now. But
I think one of the takeaways for me was that 7 of those are coming out in 1 year.
yeah.
So, like, from Shang-Chi all the way to Thor: Love and Thunder, there's 7 properties coming out in 12 months. So, I don't know.
Including the TV shows.
Yeah. But that's,
And I think that
makes it-
changes things because
Yeah.
you're not, when you
I
go to
get- I
the
getcha.
theater versus just firing it up on, 8 episodes up. And I think these will
It's
be
just-
like 8 episodes, miniseries.
Yeah.
I think is what they'll be. And I think that's genius, by the way. I
It's
think
just
that's
a
great.
lot of content, though, because you're asking people to go to 2.5 hours for each movie and then putting in another 12 hours or so
Right.
for each TV show. So that's a lot of hours.
I mean, is there some day, are we 30 years from saying, hey, do you want to go to the Marvels tonight? Instead of go to the movies. You know what I'm saying? I'm not even kidding. Like, is it a possible future where it's just whatever Disney's releasing and that's it?
Kevin Feige will be president.
Hey, Dad, can we go to the Disneys?
Yeah, that's actually more in line with what I think. Disney will be the first big corporate monopoly.
I've been saying for a while, I think the movie companies are going to buy theater chains. I think it's going to happen. It makes sense in a lot of ways for them to be able to fold in the kind of the A-list movie pass idea into their streaming services. So we'll see.
It's possible.
It's not like I've done the math on it or anything, but it makes sense to my small little brain in some ways.
But I'll tell you what people did do math on.
What's that?
Number 2. Avengers Endgame is officially the highest
Yeah, it is.
grossing movie of all time. Don't give me any of that BS about inflation or anything like that.
Is that
Money
what it is?
is money.
Oh, Aaron, how I wish we had made a bet.
Yeah.
We were talking about this. You said 200 million. It's not going to make it.
Yeah, it's funny because I have been certain originally when the first weekend came out, I was like, you can hear me on this podcast. Oh, it's going to beat it in like 3 weeks. Like I have this certainty, like it's not even close.
Well, Force Awakens, we were singing that same song.
And then 3 weeks ago, I'm like, no, it doesn't have a chance to beat it now. It's like, here's what you need to learn. Just take whatever I say. Just go the opposite direction. Whatever I believe, it's it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
For now, it is quite possible Disney will put Avatar back in theaters when the new Avatar movies come out. In fact, I think it's fairly likely. So it'll be interesting to see if it kind of shifts back after this. If Disney can overtake Disney.
That's savage. Wait, so Disney, they didn't own Avatar originally, did
No,
they?
but they do now.
Yeah. So can they? Since they're not
It's
the
theirs.
original distributor?
Oh, it's theirs.
Did they buy the property or did they buy the original licensing for Avatar? Because
No,
that's
everything.
two different things.
It all comes together.
You sure?
I'm positive.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's theirs. They bought Fox. They've got it.
They bought Fox, yeah. Okay.
So
All right.
it'll be interesting to, again, whatever I say, just believe the opposite. So I'm probably wrong, but
Yeah.
just when I sound really certain about something, just know that it's probably not true.
Yeah, you say that, but look at your some list.
Well, that's true. I have done a pretty good job with that.
Exactly.
So yeah, I think it'll be fascinating. I would love to see them battle back and forth
Till the end of
till
time.
the end of time. They just
Yeah.
keep re-releasing just to battle each other.
Okay, when did Avatar come out? 2009?
Yes,
Okay.
2009.
So in 10 years, we can expect a new king of the box office. Mm-hmm. If, everything is holding true.
Yeah, if it doesn't happen in 3 years.
Yeah. Would it be a new property? Would it be, do you think it'll be just another Marvel movie?
Here's what's bittersweet. I know a lot of people don't like Avatar as much as I do. I get it. There's a lot of James Cameron backlash. I get that too. Here's the thing that makes it a little bit bittersweet, though, even if you wanted Avengers to take this crown. Yeah, Avatar probably will be the last time an original idea, quote unquote original. I know it came from a lot of different story places. I get that.
Dances with Wolves is officially the highest grossing movie of all time.
So I there is part of me that's like, oh, that's sad. It's just going to be a big budget sequel now. Will be the only things that make this kind of money. But it is what it is. So unless there's something we don't know of, that somebody's coming up with that's just going to capture everybody's brain, like, Avatar did, or
I'm trying to
whatever
think
did.
if there's a beloved story or something, kind of like Lord of the Rings, which just took the world by storm, but it was also an original property that hasn't been adapted yet.
Yeah. I mean, that's a possibility. I was thinking more of something, wholly original.
Truly original.
Yeah.
Okay.
But,
yeah.
I don't know. It'll be interesting.
Yeah.
For sure.
That's going to wrap it up for Do We Care?
Very nice. Well, let's get into the review then. Let's talk about Quentin Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
So, Rick, explain to the audience exactly what it is a stunt double does.
Actors are required to do a lot of dangerous stuff. Cliff here is meant to help carry the load.
Is that how you describe your job, Cliff?
What, carrying his load? Yeah, it's about right.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood visits 1969 Los Angeles, 50 years ago, almost to the day, when everything is changing as TV star Rick Dalton and his longtime stunt double Cliff Booth make their way around an industry they hardly recognize anymore. Of course, that's Leo and Brad playing the main roles there. You've got Margot Robbie in there as well. And a lot of this, of course, happening around the time of the Manson murders that people know. So what did you think? Did you like it, love it, dislike it, hate it, or it was just okay?
It was okay.
Just okay for you?
Yeah. Maybe high side of okay.
Yeah, that's where I started. I walked out on the high side of okay. It has steadily been increasing since then.
Really?
It's one of those movies that has just stuck with me. And I find myself revisiting moments from it over and over throughout, the day that I've seen it. So,
that's crazy because the exact opposite is happening. I left the theater really liking it.
Yeah.
But it's been decreasing for me the more I've actually, dissected it to where it's just high side of okay.
But what's fascinating is maybe it's a difference of dissection versus rumination. Because I haven't actually done any dissecting of this movie. Like my thoughts haven't been along the lines of,
how did this do this?
Or why is this character motivation? My thoughts have been more of, oh, you remember that one time?
Yeah.
Oh, you remember that one time?
Yeah.
So that's kind of, I think, why mine's increasing. I think that's kind of a testament to how Quentin Tarantino makes movies.
Yeah.
He is, in many ways, a master of pastiche. He's a master of putting stuff on the screen that just feels a certain way. The way he captures nostalgia, the way he captures an era, the way he captures an attitude is really fascinating to me. And this, among all his movies, and I think this is the reason it's really growing on me, is a really sentimental movie. I don't think I've ever seen him be this love. There's love on the screen. There's, it's not like his movies are devoid of love or joy completely, but I've just never seen such a sentimentality to what he's done.
There's a sense of ridiculousness with every Quentin Tarantino
Oh, sure.
movie.
Yeah.
And granted, this movie does have moments like that, but for the most part, it's very not Tarantino.
Yeah, you're right. No, and that again is probably another reason
because
I like it. I'm not a huge Tarantino guy. Especially the Tarantino films that most people love, like Pulp Fiction or Reservoir Dogs. I don't get into them. I get why people love them. Mm-hmm. It's just not. It's not my texture. I'm not there.
It's your umami.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this one is a little bit more my texture. It feels to me like a movie that is one of the complaints I've seen with it. Maybe this is a problem with you or something that's growing with you, but this is not a problem with me. People think it's too loose, that it needs to be tightened up, and that it's too long. And I completely disagree. I think if this movie succeeds, it succeeds because it lives in the moments, because it lives in the characters. I can't imagine what I would cut out of this movie.
Oh, Well, I got a list.
Well, and I bet, and I could be wrong. Maybe you'll convince me. But I bet when we do that in spoilers, and you give me the list of things you would cut out,
Yeah.
I'd be like, no. I'm guessing I'll be like, no, I loved that, or I would miss that, or those kind of things. So
I bet I could say this as a broad sense, and then I could just dissect it in spoilers. But I think that if this movie were to focus more on Brad and Leo, which, by the way, they are giving stellar performances in this movie.
this is my favorite Leonardo DiCaprio performance.
It's up there, man. It's super good.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Incredibly nuanced, and just Rick Dalton is a real person.
Yeah.
It's that kind of performance where like, oh, that's Rick Dalton.
Yeah.
And not to take anything away from Brad, because same thing. Oh, that's Cliff Booth.
Yeah.
These are great characters. They're well drawn. And part of the reason I think it works so well is because you're allowed to live in their mind space so much. You spend a day in the life, with them.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I think that the reason why a lot of people will be coming away from Leo's performance above Brad's is because they're both playing to exactly what the character is required. Leo is the actor and Cliff is the stuntman. So the stuntman is not going to really be, charismatic or, vibrant or anything like that. He's just the guy who moves.
Yeah, or at least as gregarious or over the top.
Exactly.
He's definitely charismatic, but he's charismatic in kind of a cool, laid back.
Yeah, exactly.
Kind
Whereas
of way.
Leo has energy, and he, is not afraid to show it,
Brad is kind of using almost part of his, is it Rusty, Ocean's 11 character?
A little bit, he's just not using as much.
Yeah, exactly. There's just a little bit of that cool cat, nothing phases me, kind of thing going on, which he's great at. And by the way, 55-year-old Brad Pitt
Looks
taking his
better
shirt
than
off
me.
on a roof, and I'm just like, I would have liked to look like that at 25, let alone 50. Good night, man.
Yeah.
What in the world? 55.
It's crazy.
It is crazy. It's at Springfield. It's at Springfield living.
Apparently not, because it's not working for me. I got to get up on more rooftops.
We should say that for our non-Springfield listeners.
We live in the same town.
Brad Pitt, born and raised right here.
Well, not born, but raised.
Raised right here. That's true. I always forget that. He was not born here, but he was raised here in
He
Springfield.
was born in Oklahoma with a wind comes sweeping down the...
He was raised in the heart of the Ozarks.
Yeah, exactly. Not in a bunker, though.
No, not that we know of, at least.
Exactly, yeah. But going back to what I had issues with this movie is the fact that there are so many story arcs that are not only unnecessary, but they lead nowhere, and I don't see what they're trying to add to the story. I'll just say this also. I don't know what this movie's trying to tell me. I think that the movie is just really like Tarantino saying, I love the 60s. The 60s were
part
great.
of it.
Remember this cool thing about the 60s? I'm putting it in my movie because I love the 60s. I don't know what the movie's trying to tell me.
Well, this is why it's growing on me, because I think the themes and message are really beautiful here.
You got to explain them to me, then.
Okay, I'll try to do it spoiler-free.
Oh,
and
okay.
then maybe we can chat more in spoilers about certain moments of why I see this or whatever. But I really think this is a movie about not only dealing with change, but owning change. So this is a movie about a man who doesn't understand how change is, impacting his life, why why things are different, why they can't be like they used to be. It's about another man who is processing change differently than that. And then Tarantino himself is saying, I'm not only going to observe what's going on in the past, I am going to take hold of it, and I am going to also process change and what that looks like, and find joy and hope and other possibilities, other options. And so I think what he's doing here is he's saying, okay, whatever you're going through, whatever life looks like, you have the ability and responsibility to act within that in the best way you can. He's also, in a very interesting way, on second look, talking about our impotence when it comes to change as well, because there are things about the way this movie ends and things that happen that kind of are a little off-putting. He's really dealing with some, yes, I want to bring joy, but also there's still threat. So it's fascinating the way he's kind of bringing you to a place where you're like, yes, I have the power to I have the power to respond to change, but I don't have the power to own change. So I don't know. I found it really deep and fascinating the more I thought about it.
I think that I took what you're talking about away differently. I think that it's just more, I just got like, oh, Tarantino, leave me alone. It's because we're recording on a Friday. I have all my alarms turned off for Saturday.
No worries.
I think that Tarantino really maybe it's just I've seen him do, I'll call it a trope of something he's done in movies in the past. Mm-hmm. So I wasn't really surprised at, I guess I could say, the ending, Sure. I was like, oh, yeah, he's done that before, so. Another thing I will give him credit for, though, is he knows how to build tension. Because there are two scenes in particular where I was just on the edge of my seat, and I just think anything can happen right now. Anything can happen right now.
And this is another reason my meter continues to go towards love. And
love.
It's heading that direction.
Okay.
Right? We have expanded beyond high side of liked it. Or high side of okay into firm liked it, and it's still moving. So I don't know where it's going to land. But I will tell you, of all the Tarantino I've watched, this was the first time in a scene I was like, oh, he's doing Hitchcock. Like, he's doing great Hitchcock. I mean, like, there is an extended scene towards the middle of this movie.
I'll say where somebody's trying to get into a house.
Yeah, sure. And I'm just like, this is mind-blowing suspense. This is really good.
I will push back on that because I think the most suspenseful thing he's ever done was in Inglourious Bastards, in the cellar. I think that is the most intense, suspenseful thing.
No, it's brilliant. I just tweeted the other day that it's in the top 5 movie openings of all time. Because
I wasn't even talking about that. I was talking about, Tri-Glasses.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Or maybe I'm thinking. I'm thinking of the different thing. But
he does build tension.
Yes.
That's what I want to give him credit for.
Well, let me clarify a little bit then, because I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, so what's Hitchcockian about it?
Yes, exactly. So the difference is in just the tension is also the understanding of. For me, the understanding of audience expectations and where the audience lives. Hitchcock was such a genius at not just building tension because of the story or the event or what was happening, but because he was always giving the audience the exact information they needed at the exact time it would mean something to them. And when you watch this scene in the middle of the movie, Quentin Tarantino is like nailing that. Every time something is revealed, it's exactly when it's the most cathartic point for the audience for that to, cathartic's the wrong word, I should say most meaningful time for the audience to experience that knowledge. And it was moment after moment where I was never ahead of the movie was never ahead of me. We were always right there together for that entire scene, and Hitchcock was just brilliant at that.
Yeah.
So anyways, and again, that could just be a personal thing where I just, for whatever reason, I was owned by that scene.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's a great scene.
Yeah. Also, you just see so many things that Tarantino references in this movie, whether it's sarcastically or totally against if you know Tarantino, like he makes fun of spaghetti westerns in this movie, and Sergio Leone is his favorite director of all time.
Yeah.
Pretty much, I'll just say this. Leo's character, that's Clint Eastwood.
Yeah, in many ways.
Yeah, because, he did Gunsmoke, and then he went on to do all the spaghetti westerns with Sergio Leone. That's what Leo's doing in this movie, It's just this crazy story arc, and like, oh, that's Clint Eastwood. That's just him saying, I love Clint Eastwood movies growing up,
Well, if I'm guessing for him, it's even beyond just Eastwood. I'm guessing for Tarantino, just knowing what I know about his film knowledge and his geeky brain, that there's reference after reference after reference that is directly relating to things he loves. And I have to walk away from Tarantino movies going, I bow to your knowledge. That's what you win. Because it's not that I don't care. I'm just not going to take the time to understand it on that level of achievement, but I believe that you're doing it. Like, I believe every marquee I saw in this movie was time period accurate to the day. I believe that. I believe every radio broadcast I heard in this movie
was
real on that day. I just believe that Tarantino did that. I don't need the proof. I don't need, it's not something I want to spend time, certifying. It's just something I'm willing to go along with.
Maybe I was just born in the wrong era to appreciate this movie. Because it's not like it is a period piece, and, he makes it real. But I also think that there are just moments in this movie where it's supposed to be like, if you were alive, and if I show you this right now, you're going to flip out, Kind of like, what Marvel movies do in a weird way, whereas like if you're in the know, if you're on the inside of what, is being teased, you'll flip out, like, oh, I see what you did there, sort of thing.
Yeah, but I didn't have that. I mean, I was -6 when, 1969. So I didn't experience this era either, but I could feel it. And I think at the end of the day, that was enough for me. I didn't need to, need to be able to actually understand it on a truly nostalgic level.
I guess what I'm saying is like, I understood the references, but I could also tell that there were hidden like messages and Easter eggs within it that I wasn't getting.
Interesting. I didn't sense that.
Another thing is that I was not a fan of his lack of continuity with certain tropes. If you're going to have a narrator throughout the entire movie. If you're going to have written dialogue show up, have it for the entire movie. Don't have it sporadically, or a one-time off sort of thing. It's just, it feels out of place.
Oh, totally. But he's always been famous for. I mean, he's a rebel. Like he doesn't like to play by. I mean, that's always been Tarantino. He's like, why is this a rule? Why do I need to only do it this way? So I actually kind of agree with you. That there is a continuity aspect that could provide more of an ease of use factor for the audience. But that's not Tarantino. He doesn't care.
I'll say this. I like Tarantino, but there are Tarantino fanatics out there. I don't consider myself one of those. I like a lot of his movies.
Well,
I love a lot of his movies, Yeah. Like Inglourious Bastards is in Pulp Fiction some of the best movies ever made, But there are people who will swear up and down that Kill Bills are like the greatest movies of all time. And Tarantino can do no wrong, I'll push back on that though.
Yeah, well, I certainly don't think he can do no wrong.
Yeah.
This is really the third of his movies that I've liked. And then Kill Bill, I don't know that I would say I like Kill Bill, but I think I respect Kill Bill and Hateful Eight, both a little more than the others. But this, Jackie Brown, and Inglourious are the three that I would say I like those movies. And that's something. He made another movie I like, I haven't liked one since Inglourious. So that's great, yeah. For me, I mean, it's good for me.
Yeah, you're not going to scoff at liking a movie. Trying to think.
This is what I wrote about Tarantino right after I saw the movie.
Oh, yeah?
Tarantino has realized that film projectors are literal time travel devices, and he has decided to use them as such, not just to observe the past, but to dance on butterflies, damn the consequences. So it's kind of that interesting thing where it's like, people know you can use film to create a whole nother time, right? But Tarantino is not satisfied with that. He doesn't just want to look at another time. He wants to dance on butterflies. He wants to change things. He wants to get in there and be active in time. And he is treating film like a time travel device, even beyond just the idea of observation, which I think is fascinating to me.
Those poor butterflies, they never stood a chance.
So
what did they do?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they all died. My one last thing, there is a mid-credit scene.
That is true,
and it's actually worth sticking around for. It's not story driven. It's just fun.
I have a lot more to say about this movie, but I don't. No. I don't think I'm going to get to all of it. If I were to sum up it all in one last thing, so we can kind of move on and continue on with the podcast, and we'll get to maybe some stuff and spoilers. But this movie is humorous in a way until at the end of this movie, the finale of this movie is humorous in a way that most Tarantino movies are humorous.
That's exactly it. Yeah.
Right. But before the finale, it's humorous in a way that I don't know that his movies usually are. There's a lot of character-based humor here. I know I'm being too broad with this statement. I understand there's some of that in Tarantino movies. I'm just saying it felt more like
a Coen Brothers comedy.
Exactly. It felt more like the humor there was it wasn't as caustic. It was, again, more sentimental, and it had to deal with empathy. There's empathy humor here that I think is really good. And I'm, again, not saying he's never done those things. I'm sure there's plenty of examples of him doing those things. But in this movie, it's kind of all he did for the first 80% of the film.
Yeah.
And then he got back to what he thinks is really funny in the last 20 minutes. But, but I found that fascinating. And by the way, that last 20 minutes is crack cocaine, man. I mean, it's just like, it is, and there's something interesting again about him saving it just for the finale in many ways, because his other movies are so peppered with that, mentality and kind of what happens there. So
he showed a lot of restraint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very much, which is not something you usually associate with Tarantino. So maybe that's one of the reasons I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I was talking to some friends today about it, and they wanted to know how violent, all of his movies are so violent,
Right.
So let me put it this way: the movie is 2 hours and 41 minutes long, and 10 minutes of it is violent.
I think it's the last 20 minutes, but maybe just be 10, 15. I don't know. But yeah,
he makes up for it though.
See, it's a weird question to answer, right? Because how violent is the movie? Very, very violent.
Yeah.
Except that it's not.
What percentage of the movie is violent?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, and maybe we're giving away too much during non-spoilers. I don't know, but
I think that's
no.
I think that's pretty good. Granted, people should always, be cautious about going into a Tarantino movie, but at the same time, we always let people know about, violence in movies or profanity or stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that there's somebody out there who just doesn't know who Quentin Tarantino is, and they're like, oh, I wonder what his movies are like. I don't know if this would be the first one I would recommend.
For some people, it would be for me. I would say for some, especially who aren't Tarantino fans or maybe have never even seen a Tarantino movie, I would say if you want to understand a little bit about him as an artist without, getting your mind scrambled right off the bat, this is one you can see and just know you're in for a crazy ending. I think I could tell them that and be like, and then if that crazy ending isn't too much for you, here's a couple others I think you might enjoy. I actually think this might make a good introduction for some people into Tarantino.
It's so different from all of his other movies that I think it would be.
I agree.
Well, yeah, but if you're like, if somebody asks what I like a Tarantino movie, this is the most non-Tarantino of Tarantino's movies. So if I were to recommend it, I'd be like, here's a movie that's nothing like anything else he's ever done.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. That might be the reason to introduce it to somebody who wouldn't be predisposed to like Tarantino.
Yeah, but then they're going to pick up Grindhouse or something like that.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying you tell them if you can stand, that portion of the movie, then maybe
imagine
you can...
that 80 times more.
Imagine that the entire film.
Yeah.
And you've got Kill Bill.
Is this rewatchable?
Yes.
You think so?
I think so. I think there's enough details for me and enough emotion for me that it makes it rewatchable for me.
Interesting. I don't think so for me. I think this is a one and done.
Yeah.
Possibly a reviewing if it's just so long. And it's so long and there are so many lulls for me.
I didn't have a single lull. I couldn't believe it was over when it was over. I was like, there's no way that was 2 hours and 40 minutes.
Ooh, I felt it. I really felt it.
I'm
felt
sure,
it too?
I'm sure I'm in the minority here, but he, for whatever reason, he owned me in this movie. He really had my attention. Every little detail I was interested in, every little character moment, and not just our two, main characters. Every character he put on screen, I was like, man, I'm really interested in that person and where they came from and what they're saying. There's a scene early on with Pacino's character that is one of my favorites in the movie. And he comes out of that conversation and some of the most amazing stuff happens, but it only happens because of that Pacino conversation in some of the things that are said in that, and I'm just living in these moments, and it just felt so authentic to me, even more than any Tarantino movie I've seen.
Is that the first scene in the movie? Or no. The first scene is the.
Well, here's the other thing. I don't know that I could tell you the order of these scenes, and that's interesting to me because it almost just feels like my life. Sometimes I couldn't tell you the order of the scenes in my life because I just lived them, and I just know they're there.
Yeah, the first scene was the black and white, like a newsreel.
Okay, yeah.
But it was the scene after that was the Pacino scene. So that's just all character building.
Yeah.
That's just, not only character, but that's story building too. So it's vital. Whereas there are plenty of other scenes where I don't see being vital to this movie.
Well, I can't wait to hear about them.
Yeah, I got a list.
We'll do that in the SIF spoil.
But even though I have it on the high side of okay, I'm still going to recommend it solely by how good these performances in this movie are.
You got to see Leo's performance, especially in this. It's really great.
Yeah,
it's really great. Well, there you go. There's our thoughts on Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Stick around for the spoilers in the SIF spoil if you want to hear more and you've already seen it. That should show up in your feed right after this one. Let's move on to the best ever challenge.
Okay.
We're going to do best ever movies that have 6 words in the title. Now, you might think, well, there aren't that many movies that have 6 words in the title. Well, guess what? There are lots of them. I have 36 on my list, so it happens.
Yeah.
6-word titles happen. Let's do our top 5. We'll go number 5 to number 1, and then we'll run down some honorable mentions as well. Yeah, I can start.
Cool.
I'm really glad this movie cracked the top 5 for me. It's a recent movie. In the top 5, it's Bad Times at the El Royale.
Yeah, that's honorable mention.
I every time I see this, I love it more. And I highly recommend you check it out. Drew Goddard is really talented, and the cast is doing great work here. And it's just a fun interest. Talk about Hitchcock. There's a lot of kind of Hitchcock stuff going on in this movie. So yeah, Bad Times is one of my favorites.
Yep, I'm gonna go with Bridge on the River Kwai.
Yes, or the bridge on the River Kwai. You got to get that "the" in there.
Yeah. What a great movie. It's truly a classic, and it's just an interesting take on Stockholm Syndrome before Stockholm Syndrome was even known as a thing. Mm-hmm. World War II, Japanese camp, and I got to look up his name because it's one of the best performances ever. He played the... there we go. Is it William Holden? Yes, I think it is. No. It was Alec Guinness, of course. Yeah. Obi-Wan giving an amazing performance. Yeah. Oh, it's so good. I love this movie.
Yeah. No, that's a good one. I had it in my honorable mentions.
Yeah.
You might trump me on this one. In at number 4, I had Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
I have it at number 3. Let's go ahead and talk about it.
How good is this movie?
Is it? No. Oh man, I always go back and forth between this and Man on the Moon as Carrie's best.
Well, I think Man on the Moon is his best performance. I don't think he's ever been as committed to or enveloped by a performance as he was with Andy Kaufman.
Well, it changed him forever.
Yeah. Have you seen the documentary?
Yeah, it's crazy.
You have to watch the documentary. It is insane how much that movie changed him as a human being.
Like a method act type
of
thing.
It was. Yeah, he went full method on it and kind of lost his mind a little bit.
Yeah.
And it's a fascinating watch. But that's not the movie we're talking about.
Yeah.
We're talking about Eternal Sunshine, which may be the best movie he's ever been.
I think so.
I, of course, like a lot of his movies. Liar Liar may be... Or Truman Show is actually on the top of my list as far as Jim Carrey movies.
Yeah.
But I do like Liar Liar as well. But this one is phenomenal for many reasons, including him.
Yeah. Listen to this cast for this movie. You got Jim Carrey, of course, and Kate Winslet.
Yep.
Tom Wilkinson.
Yep.
Elijah Wood, Mark Ruffalo, David Cross, and Kirsten Stewart. That is a cast and a half.
Kirsten Dunst.
Yes. Well, I said Stewart, didn't I? Yeah, Kirsten Dunst. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's an amazing...
Speaking of Kaufman, a different Kaufman.
Yeah.
Not Andy. This is Charlie Kaufman.
Yeah, Charlie Kaufman is one of my favorite screenplay writers, and this movie is a good example of that. Michelle Gondry. This, of course, is what led to Jim and Gondry's relationship that has resulted in the TV show that they're doing together right now, which is a very interesting show. I don't know if you've watched any of the episodes.
Snippets.
I struggle to say that I like it, but I watched all of it. It's a fascinating show, and I think Carrie's giving a fascinating performance. But yeah, I really dig Eternal Sunshine for sure.
Yeah. So my number 4 going.
Yeah.
The movie that introduced everybody to Guy Ritchie, Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels.
Yeah, that's in my honorable mentions.
Yeah. First time I ever saw Jason Statham. This is, the spider web of stories, and how they interweave with one another. I always think that that's just a fascinating way of telling stories. Maybe it's why I like Crash so much, because that's the epitome of the spider web effect of movies, And this just, it's kind of Tarantino, except just more linear.
Sure.
It's just, from a ridiculous standpoint, like none of this would ever happen, but the way that they're shooting it makes me believe that it is happening,
Yeah.
I think this movie is great. I think that Snatch is a better movie, but it is
But it only has one word in the title.
I was going to say it's 5 words,
5 words short.
Yeah. Yeah.
My number 3?
Yes.
Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Am I trumping you? I am, but it's my number 2, so yeah.
You're just putting my movies one above me.
Yeah.
Just trying to one up me every time, Andrew.
Yeah.
That's only going to work one more time.
Yeah. If we have the same one, yeah.
Yeah, Monty Python and the Holy Grail. I've said this before, I think. I don't know that there's a movie that I know more lines directly from than this movie.
I think I could probably quote 90% of the movie.
We watched it in high school. Every time one of us would have, a stayover or sleepover, whatever, we'd throw Monty Python in, watch it twice, 3 times, 4 times. Who knows?
I ruined my VHS.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fun little story, kids. Back in the day, you could only watch a VHS a limited number of times before it no longer worked.
Actual physical tape.
Yeah,
it would wear down.
It would wear down.
It was magnetized tape. Imagine that.
Yeah, I ruined this movie and Spaceballs. Those are the 2 movies I wore out.
Yeah, I wore out our copy of Star Wars as well.
Yeah.
That was taped off of TV.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know if I've ever told this story, but my mom's dad, my grandpa on her side, worked for RCA back when they invented VCRs and TVs and all that kind of. Well, maybe not back to where they invented TVs, but VCRs. And so they had one of the first
picture boxes.
They had one of the first VCRs, and so he would literally just set it to record TV all day, so that he could, go back and watch it. And so we had so many interesting and weird, things that he had saved on there. So yeah, that's Cliff.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Good old Cliff.
My grandma would record all the Turner Classic Movies for me, so I would always get the Abbott and Costellos or the Laurel and Hardys, and all the good black and white movies.
Yeah, I just remember getting copies of the Apple Dumpling Gang and Shaggy Dog and all those old Disney movies.
Oh, good times.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're number 2.
My number 2.
Yeah.
The Man Who Knew Too Much.
Hey, there you go.
You're not trumping
I'm not trumping it.
It's probably because we have the same number 1.
Probably.
This is the Hitchcock's second version with Jimmy Stewart. He actually directed this movie twice, which is interesting. He did. I can't remember if the first was a silent film. It may have even been a silent. The first one may have even been silent. I don't remember, but I think it was in the 30s. But this one was in the 50s and was Jimmy Stewart. And so you think about Disney these days, remaking their movies, that kind of stuff. This has always been an option and always been one of the greatest directors of all time, literally remade his same movie 20 years later. So it's a great one. It's got all the suspense. There's an incredible finale that takes place during a big orchestral concert that's really fascinating, and the playing of the concert impacts their ability to chase this guy and know when things are going to happen. And so it's wonderful, and it's probably the movie that most depends on what was one of his most famous tropes, which is maintained as a trope in movies to this day, which is the innocent man trope, which is basically somebody who really isn't involved in something all of a sudden becomes involved in something. North by Northwest is the same trope.
Yeah, Rear Window.
And Rear Window as well.
Or the birds. They had nothing to do with those birds. They just got all angry.
So, anyways, Man Who Knew Too Much is a good Hitchcock. If you haven't seen it, you should check it out.
Not to be confused with Man Who Knew Too Little.
No, that's totally different.
It is a totally different
God bless
movie.
Bill Murray.
Yeah. We have the same number one.
I hope so.
Yeah.
It's got to be Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Just wanted to make sure.
No, yeah. Whew. Man, I love this movie so much.
Is it your favorite indie movie too?
Easily.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
Junior.
I mean, I know people love Raiders, and I get why people love Raiders. And by the way, Raiders should just be called Raiders of the Lost Ark, not Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Well, technically it is just Raiders of the Lost Ark. Or is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, okay, yeah.
The people have changed it to put it into the Indiana Jones
and the Raiders of the
trilogy
Lost
and
Ark.
that kind of stuff. But anyways,
It was originally just called Raiders. of the Lost
Star Wars
Ark.
kind of had the same thing, or it should just be Star Wars.
Yeah.
That's what it was called. But Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade is just brilliant. We named the dog Indiana. That's all I have to say.
You had this as your number one, Aaron?
Yeah.
You chose wisely.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I want to go over some honorable mentions.
I got a bunch.
Yeah, there are a lot of six-letter.
Yeah.
Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid.
Yep.
One that has to be mentioned.
Anchorman, Legend of Ron Burgundy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Yep.
There are a lot of really great ones that could have snuck in to the list.
I mean,
so.
this one right here, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, that could have easily been in somebody's top 5.
I had a little bit further down than that, but that's fair enough.
Yeah, I'm just saying it could have been.
Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story.
Yeah. In the Heat of the Night.
Yes.
Yeah.
10 Things I Hate About You. Decent movie.
The Men Who Stare at Goats.
Nice. I don't think I had that in my list.
It's a funny movie.
It
I'll
is.
never watch
It
it
is.
again, but it's a funny movie.
It is. I have to mention All Quiet on the Western Front.
Yes. I want to talk about that movie really quick.
Sure.
Though. That is a fascinating movie and book for the simple fact that it's told from the side of the losing faction of the
Which
war.
does not happen all that often.
You rarely hear of, what happened with, it was World War I, so they weren't technically Axis. It was Germans,
Right.
German trench warfare. And I think what the overall message of it is just, war is horrible. You know, it
war
doesn't
is
matter
hell.
if you're, war is hell. It doesn't matter if you're the winner or the loser,
Yep.
It's a heartbreaking movie, as all war movies are. It's just
Yep.
interesting from that perspective.
I agree.
Yeah.
I'm glad we stopped and chatted about it.
Yeah. Man in the Iron Mask,
Man in the Iron Mask. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that one.
Leo.
Yeah, that's a Leo movie too.
Yep.
This is not a Leo movie. Romeo and Michelle's high school reunion.
Yep.
Although it's definitely a funny movie.
Did you mention Born on the 4th of July?
I haven't.
Okay. Well, I just did.
Yes, you did.
Yeah.
Born on the 4th of July. That works. Let's see. Back to the Future Part 3. Back to the Future Part 2.
You go right ahead, man. I'm not a fan. What We Do in the Shadows. Please
Yeah.
tell me you finally picked up and watched that movie.
I haven't watched it yet.
Oh,
No.
man. That
No, I knew
movie's-
you were going to mention it, but
Yeah.
I have not watched it. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Yeah, obvious. Oh, never mind. I was going to be one of those guys. The book is so much better.
Well, I agree with you. Douglas Adams' books are incredible. I would say the books are so much better. That's a great series, and he is hilarious.
Yes.
I like the movie though. I really do like the movie, and I'm excited that there's a TV show coming out. I love this property. I would love to see as much on it as possible. So yeah, I like The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Yeah. The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. The Swedish one, even though I think the David Fincher is pretty good.
The
but
original?
I think the Swedish one's way better.
The Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants.
The Perks of Being a Wallflower.
Yes, I have that one.
I
as well.
love that movie so much.
Yeah.
That is like such a great movie.
Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone.
Yeah.
Or Philosopher's Stone, depending on where you live.
Yeah. Oh, really? Is it different overseas?
Yeah. It
That's
was originally the Philosopher's Stone in England. Yeah.
Isn't the Philosopher's Stone something that's in some other property?
I don't know.
It's,
I just know they changed it to Sorcerer's Stone.
Okay. Fear, Loathing in Las Vegas. It's not a movie for everybody, but it's an interesting watch, to say the least.
How to Train Your Dragon 2.
Yep. That's my list, by the way, so the rest is you.
The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance. The Truth About Cats and Dogs. The Hand That Rocked the Cradle. The Day the Earth Stood Still.
Oh, man! I can't believe I forgot The Day the Earth Stood Still.
And then one from my childhood. Speaking of tapes I wore out when I was a kid.
Oh, yeah?
Darby O'Gill and the Little People.
What?
I I think you just made up a movie.
No, this movie is amazing. It's actually genuinely kind of good, but it's more just kind of one of those old, kids movies that's hilarious.
Sean Connery?
Yeah, man.
Wow.
Yep. James Bond doing some Darby O'Gill and the Little People. I'm telling you, find this. Search it out. It really, I watched this.
Oh, it's a Disney movie. So.
Yes. Oh, yes. I watched this all the time as a kid. Wore that video out. So there you go.
Yeah. Jack McGowan. Yeah.
Our 6-word titles best ever challenge.
Yeah.
If you want to check out the SiftPop list, you can go to SiftPop.com. Our gurus chimed in with their favorite 6-word titles.
Yep.
You might see some other ones there, like Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, The Old Man and the Gun, those kind of things. So appreciate that. Before we head on to our Sift Quest, there it is, Darby O'Gill and the Little People for the non-audio podcast people.
Hey, look at that. Look at that. Check this out.
Crazy.
Crazy. Look at that. It's crazy. Oh no, I have converted.
Yes.
All right. Before we head on to the Sift Quest, I wanted to thank our SiftPop members. You are the best. Don't forget, all SiftPop members will be in the drawing for the Jordan Peele 2-pack Blu-rays of Us and Get Out. We've got 3 of those 2-packs to give away. We're going to be giving those away to some. We're going to be drawing from both our SiftPop members, those who support SiftPop, as well as anybody who sends us a Sift Quest. So a question for the show at the email, I should say, which is feedback@siftpop.com. This is your last chance to get in on that. When we are back in a couple weeks, we will be announcing the winners. So you want to make sure and get that support going now, or get that email in now to be entered into the drawing. But thank you to our members for making this show and the entire SiftPop experience possible. We love you. We appreciate you. If you want to be a member, it's really easy. It all happens at Patreon. You can go there, look at the perks that come along with being a member. It's patreon.com/SiftPop, and we appreciate you for doing that.
Yeah.
All right, on to the Sift Quest. This comes from Geezus on Twitter. Says, "Hi, Aaron. Back again. You've used my Sift Quest twice now, and I want to go for the hat trick." Well, congratulations.
You did it.
Throw your hats on the ice. Also, I really want to win the Jordan Peele giveaway. Okay, fair enough. With the decade coming to a close, what do you think will be the movies to define it? Could be 5, maybe even 10. Thanks for providing cool content. You are welcome.
This is the easiest question ever.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not have an easy time with this. I guess I got stuck on what it means to define the decade, as opposed to just be my favorite movies of the decade. Like, I would find it pretty easy to give you my favorite movies of the decade.
Yeah.
But finding movies that both I love, that both are considered, great, and also kind of define something about the 2010s.
Yeah.
It was an interesting process. I think I came up with some decent answers, but yeah, I don't know why you think this was so easy.
I'll just go ahead. Marvel has defined this decade. I know I'm cheating because Iron Man came out in 2008.
Sure.
So 2008 to 2019, that's 11 years, fine, whatever. But, this world has been taking over.
Would you use Endgame as the movie example of that then? Would you say Avengers Endgame, kind of defines the decade?
It's the culmination of the defining.
I'm just trying to say, which movie would you pick?
Infinity War as the defining, because it is, I think everything led to Infinity War, and that Endgame is the result of Infinity War, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Because it'd been building up to Thanos.
Yeah.
And then we finally got Thanos. Endgame is the conclusion of, not this era, but I think Infinity War was the climax.
Have I talked lately, I don't want to spend a ton of time on this, but have I talked on SiftPop about my changing feelings on Endgame yet? I can't remember if I've actually talked about this.
What you got?
Well, I'm the more and more I think about Endgame, the more and more I think it really has a horrible message. Like, I really... This idea that the best thing possible is to bring these people back 5 years later is kind of like it's really bad. Like this, it's a really awful idea. The better idea is to grow and to move on and to have acceptance. And
So you're saying Thanos is right?
I'm not saying Thanos was right. I'm saying the response was wrong, and those are different things. I think, I don't know, it just says something really interesting about, I think you cause more trauma by not moving on in your life. So yeah, I don't know. I'm having philosophical problems with it more and more.
I just figured this movie was a 3-hour version of Chumbawamba. You get knocked down, you get back up again. So,
well, getting back up again is different than bringing people who've been dead 5 years back to life.
But you're never going to keep them down.
All right. Did you have others you picked, or did you just say Marvel?
Well, I think Marvel is the defining.
I get that.
I could give you a list of like my favorite movies for each year.
No, see, I try not to do favorite movies, but I did do a list of what I think you could say defines kind of the 10-year span. I would put movies like The Social Network in there.
Yeah.
I think that not only is it a great movie and wonderful, but I think there's something about the understanding of technology and how it has started to creep into our. I mean, this movie was made pretty early in the decade. I think 2012, something like that.
Yeah.
And yet we still find ourselves even 7 years, 8 years later, going, okay, how, what does Facebook know? What does Google know? What, this is kind of defined who we are. So I wanted that on there.
Get Out.
That was actually the next one I was going to talk about.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, I really think that is kind of even though it just happened, I think we'll look back and go, there's this idea of conscious horror.
Yeah.
I think is going to be a real genre. I think, Jordan Peele in many ways, he didn't invent it. It's conscious horror has been done many times before, but he put kind of a label on it in a way that I think is going to have a lasting movie impact. So yeah, I had Get Out in there as well.
Yeah.
Roma.
If
for no other reason than kind of defining the part of the decade that is not understanding what movies are, where they come from, the Netflixiness of it all, I think is, kind of one of those things that, might look back and be like, oh, you remember when Roma was a great movie that came out on Netflix?
Yeah.
So anyways, that's why I put it in there. Zero Dark 30 has some really interesting political ramifications.
Wait, when did that come out?
I think it was 2010 or shortly thereafter.
I love that movie, don't get me wrong. It's great.
Yeah. So I think Zero Dark 30 is another one. I think Inception has to be in there. There's something about Christopher Nolan's movie making that I think does define the decade. The idea of puzzles, puzzle movie making, taking a kind of a center stance in culture. So I think that's a good one to kind of list in there.
Oh man!
Did you have any others?
Yeah, I did. I just can't remember the name.
Here's one you might not like. I think The Last Jedi, in many ways, may define the decade. And what I mean by that, for controversy, yeah, it's kind of one of those movies that really emphasized toxic fandom as part, and also how we divide ourselves. And this culture has really been a divided, culture. Certainly for the last. I mean, a lot of people think it started in 2016 with the election of a certain president. This culture was divided before 2016. So yeah.
This is one. It will depend on the future of cinema, but it could be looked back as the launching point. Bandersnatch.
Oh yeah, sure. I think that's one that could be.
If choose your own adventure becomes like a thing, kind of like how Avatar, people you think of 3D movies, everybody just goes back to Avatar. That's the one you got to go see. So I think if Bandersnatch isn't a one and done, which even if it is, it's unique enough to where I don't even know if you consider it a movie or a game or what.
Here's a few more I had on the list. As much as I don't like the movie, I think Hereditary might be on this list. I think if you think of the socially conscious horror that Jordan Peele's doing, you've also got
the pretentious horror.
Yeah, well, you could use that word.
You just don't get it.
But that kind of idea.
You said Midsommar's actually better.
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I do think so. I think Mission Impossible Fallout might be one to look back on and go, man, that really just kind of those Mission Impossible movies, changing action movies in a way, taking them back to, just kind of that real, authentic doing stuff.
I got it.
kind of stuff.
John Wick.
Possibly, yeah. I don't think that's bad.
No, because people are gonna this is the movie that got us away from shaky cams and quick cuts. You know?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I have La La Land just because I love it so much.
Yeah, I could actually agree with that one. Even though, I would say Arrival it's the same year.
Sure, yeah. Arrival's a good choice. Inside Out.
But now I'm just getting into my favorite movies of the year.
Yeah, me too. I think this one, the one, I'll do one more.
Okay.
Although I did have Paddington 2 in here as well.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, you're being serious.
No, I definitely am being serious. I think it could be a defining movie of the 2010s. The optimism and the joy and
People forgot that movie existed until you just told them.
No, you're wrong. You're wrong about that. It has a huge fan base.
Sure.
I mean, it's like Marvel and then Paddington. I mean, I think you're just not tuned in, Andrew. It's okay.
I guess.
No, it's okay. I understand. Sometimes you just can't be tuned into everything. But
what about these Disney live action remakes?
That's interesting. Yeah, I think you could look at something like Beauty and the Beast maybe as kind of being a defining movie of the 2010s or something like that.
Yeah, nostalgia.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, nostalgia driven. But here's the one I was going to go with as a defining movie of the 2010s because it really has been a decade where we've finally seen Hollywood not just pay token observation to multiculturalism, but really embrace multiculturalism and what that actually means. I think Black Panther may be seen as kind of one of those movies that really launched. You could also say maybe Crazy Rich Asians.
I was thinking Crazy Rich Asians.
One of those two would fit that idea of, a movie that defined the decade and kind of changed our perspective on things in a real way. So
yeah,
I think that works.
No, that's totally right.
Very nice. Appreciate it. Appreciate the question. Again, if you have one, let us know. Feedback at SiftPop.com and we'll get you entered into the Jordan Peele drawing. Speaking of Get Out. All right, we're on to the buried treasure. Woo! What is that one thing in any area of pop culture that you want to make sure people know about?
Just came out this morning.
Yeah.
The Boys on Amazon.
Oh, have you watched?
Halfway through. The show is great.
Yeah, this is a superhero.
It's real. Yes, but it's so almost meta in a way because I think it's the most real. I'm not even joking when I say this. I think this is the most realistic. If superheroes existed, this is the world we would live in. Because what it's mainly saying is, okay, how can we make money off of superheroes? We'll market them, and we'll have, them have agents like actors, and, they got to have good PR people, If they accidentally do something wrong, we got to try and sweep it under the rug.
Sounds like there's a little bit of Hancock in there.
Not really.
Okay, all right. I was just...
Yeah, it's just more... I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
But you don't get that. I guess tonally it's not there.
Okay.
But I would just say this: the show is phenomenal. There's a whole lot of, we were just talking about representation and female empowerment and stuff like that. All that stuff is definitely being hit on in this show.
Okay.
It is very graphically violent and foul language aplenty. Performances are great. If you can't tell by the picture, it's a take on DC's universe, really.
What picture, Andrew? This is an audio podcast.
Look at this. It's crazy. Well, but yes, I cannot recommend it enough. It is a fascinating show. Yes.
All right. Well, now you've officially got it on my radar.
Oh, yes.
Did you say it was Amazon Prime?
Yes.
All right. Amazon. I got that.
You
I
did?
have that, Andrew. I can watch it.
No, it is legitimately an amazing show.
Right.
Maybe my favorite superhero show.
Ever?
I'm only halfway through.
Season 1 Jessica Jones?
Maybe.
Wow.
Maybe I'm selling it too much for you. Like, your expectations are too high now.
The original X-Men animated series?
Ooh.
You ready for one of the weirdest buried treasures I've ever done?
Oh, sure.
Well, I don't know. I don't know that it's weird. It's just, it's sports, and we don't often talk about sports stuff. But there's this thing that happens every summer after the NBA has happened and the college season has happened. And by the way, I love basketball, so this shouldn't be a surprise that I enjoy basketball stuff. But I find this tournament fascinating.
Is it the dunk?
It's called the Basketball Tournament, the TBT, and it's on ESPN and the ESPN affiliates. and it's a single elimination tournament. Winner takes all, $2 million to the winning team. Big prize involved here. That's the first thing. So you are getting like legitimate great basketball players who for whatever reason aren't on a pro team, because the pros can't take part in this because of contracts and safety and those kind of things.
Yeah.
So what you've got is a lot of those college basketball players that just couldn't quite get into the pros, but they're still great. And what it makes you realize is how many talented ball players there really are, because these guys are really good. So the basketball's good. And here is the thing that even puts it next level for me, and is the main reason I watch almost every single one of these games. They finish their games with what's called the ELAM ending. Have I ever talked about this on the show before?
The what landing?
It's ending. ELAM ending. ELAM. Now, it's the name of a professor who designed it.
Okay.
One of the worst things about basketball is at the end of the game, if it's a close game, there's lots of fouling. It takes I think the average stat is 17 minutes for the last 4 minutes of the game.
Yeah.
Is the average stat.
Ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. So what he did is he designed this ending where with 4 minutes left in the game, you turn off the clock, you add 8 points to whoever has the highest score. You with me so far?
Okay.
So let's say it's 72 to 67.
Okay.
We add 8 points to 72. That makes 80 the target score. Whoever gets to 80 first wins.
Okay.
So the team with 67 has to score 13 points to get there. The team with 72 has to score 8 points to get there. No clock, nothing. And what it does, it completely eliminates all that fouling, because you don't want them to get any points to get there. You know what else it does? Every single game ends on a buzzer beater. Every single game, not a buzzer beater, but a walk-off. You know what I'm saying? One of the games I watched yesterday had a walk-off dunk. They won it on a dunk. Both teams I think, were 2 away from the target ending. So whoever scored next was going to win. And it was a putback dunk, and they just went crazy. You know, I mean, it makes the end, instead of tedious and foul strategy and that kind of stuff, really interesting and exciting. And I swear, if people would pay attention to this, the NBA would do this. College, can you imagine March Madness with the Elam ending, where every single game ended with a made shot? Like, that's just, I don't know. I'm a huge fan.
That's actually really cool.
Yeah, I know.
I'm totally on board for that.
Yeah, so check it out. Like, search for it in your listings or whatever, or find a way to watch it online. I think a lot of them are on YouTube, but it's just called the basketball tournament.
Cool. Because I just watched the National Dunk League contest.
Oh, yeah.
You ever watch that?
No.
With, like, Jordan Kilgannon and stuff?
Mm-mm.
Oh, man, those guys are crazy. Like, you know, they only specialize in, like, trick dunks and stuff like that. So I don't know if, like, their skills, you know, like team coordination and stuff, that's why they're not in the NBA. But they have perfected the ridiculous dunk.
Yeah.
Like, he does this one called the Scorpion Dunk, where he like, turns his hand around his back and like somehow dunks to a goal or a net he can't even see. It's crazy. But
that's amazing.
Elam ending.
Yeah, the Elam ending. It's this professor who designed it like several years ago and couldn't get anybody to listen to him, and then this tournament was like, hey, let's do this for our games. The other nice thing is, I mean, it makes the game time consistent and manageable.
Yeah.
You know, I think the average last 4 minutes in an Elam ending game takes 6 minutes, whereas it takes 17 minutes in a regular game. So,
and nobody wants to sit and watch free throws for 15 minutes.
Well, and think of this other scenario. Let's say a team's down 20 when the Elam ending kicks in, and all of a sudden they go on a huge run, and they're coming back. And you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, it's a really interesting thing.
Yeah.
A team that's down 20 with 4 minutes left in the game normally doesn't have any shot at winning.
Yeah.
But here, the clock goes off. If you go on a 20-0 run, you know, you got a shot at this thing. So it's kind of a fascinating way to end a basketball game, and I love it.
No.
So
I'm definitely going to be YouTube.
Yeah, you should check it out. See if you
Elam
can,
endings.
yeah, you should find it because it's a lot of fun.
ELIM.
ELAM.
ELAM.
Yeah, the Elam ending, and it's the TBT, the basketball tournament.
Cool.
Well, we did it, man.
Woo!
It was a walk-off dunk.
Yeah, we did. Scorpion dunk.
That's right.
Oh, I chose the wrong arm because that's my bad shoulder.
Oops.
You chose poorly.
I did. I mean, look at this, everybody on the camera. Look at this. Look at it. It's crazy. See, I can do that, and then right there. That's as high.
Wow, that's your range of motion?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I got a bad shoulder.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, Phil, don't put any of that in the audio podcast.
that's it.
Thanks so much for joining us today for SiftPop. It is part of the Studio DNA Podcast Network. You can find out more about other shows on the network at studiodna.media or by searching Studio DNA in your podcast player. Huge thanks to Andrew for hanging out again.
Oh, thank you.
At Flick Freaks on the social medias if you want to check
For
him
a
out.
little bit longer, yeah.
Thanks to producer Phil for producing a killer video show and a killer audio show. He does both supremely well. We couldn't do it without you, Phil. I have philophilia. Is that proper? No?
Doesn't sound good.
No, okay. Too much. You can also...
He did not want you to be Prince Eric. I don't know if you heard last week's podcast.
No, it's true. It's true. It's
I did listen to it, but I didn't hear
it's
that part.
unseemly.
Okay.
It's unseemly. She's 18, Phil. You can't.
I didn't hear that part, yeah.
Yeah, it's unseemly.
I'm too old, apparently.
I'm really ashamed of you for even wanting it, to be honest. Much
Well,
love.
Phil's like 21. It's
That's true.
Yeah.
I totally forgot you were 21. I apologize for insinuating something other than
he
that.
wanted some hairy dude to be Prince Charming.
What?
Yeah.
Harry dude.
Harry style.
Oh, yes. Some very stylish dude.
Yeah, she had to make me explain the joke, and now it's not funny anymore.
Much love and gratitude to our Patreon members for giving monthly to make SiftPop a real thing. Support starts at $3 a month. You get access to every bonus episode. We rank our Tarantino movies in this bonus episode. So all SiftPop members will have access to that, as well as some other fun perks, including a monthly video hangout. Also, thanks to your support, we've been expanding in 2019 to some fun new areas. You can find all of that at siftpop.com, and you can support at patreon.com/siftpop. Lots of ways to connect with us. Please comment, rate, leave reviews at Apple Podcasts, throw some stars our way, or you can email us at feedback@siftpop.com. And by the way, there's some new reviews up there at Apple Podcasts. We should read
Are they
those next
vanilla-based?
episode. One of them is. I love it. I think the title of one of the reviews is I Love Vanilla. So thank you so much. We appreciate that. You can do that. I tell you what, next time we'll read any new reviews that come in on the next episode. Remind me to do that.
Okay.
All right, we'll do that
2
next
weeks
time.
from now.
Yeah, 2 weeks from now. And finally, if you're having a good time, your movie-loving friends will probably like the show too, so let them know about it. And that listening is much easier than maintaining stardom in Hollywood. We will be back with a little bit of spoiler chat on Once Upon a Time in Hollywood for you. That'll be next up in your podcast feed. And then we'll see you in 2 weeks, I think. 2 weeks, we'll get back to you with our thoughts on Hobbs and Shaw. See you then.
I actually hurt my arm when I raised it up.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah. I'm an old man.
Bye, video peoples.
Bye.
We got to hustle on this. We're going to fire up the other one.
Sif spoil.
The Sif spoil.